Welcome to the Soulful Badass podcast. This is for all you souls who are ready to listen to your intuition and live life on your terms. I'm Rachel Jackson. I'm a mindset coach and intuitive mentor, and I'm here to guide you to live the most fulfilled, authentic, and abundant life that you were born for. Now let's dive in each week and have some amazing conversations, and let's light that soul on fire. Hi everyone. In today's podcast episode, I recorded a live with one of my incredible clients. Stacey comes on and shares her journey about how she's given up that idea of stress and struggle in her business and learned to let go and learn how to be rather than constantly doing. So she shares with us what she's been through, what she has used and experienced in her business over the last few months through working with me. And it is an amazing conversation to listen to. So I won't say any more. Let's dive into today's episode. So thank you for joining me. You look lovely.
Thank you.
Stacey, do you want to introduce yourself and, say a bit about you and what you do, and then we'll dive into it?
Yeah, sure. So I'm Stacey, and I own Stacey Lyn Boutique Photography, which is a high school senior photography business with the occasional wedding thrown in. I'm located right outside of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. And what I do is I work with teens to create transformational portrait experiences that instill confidence in them and teach them how to step into their power and show up authentically and share their gifts with the world. And I also offer a 16-month creator team experience for high school juniors, where we teach them how to be content creators through collaborations with local and online brands. And that also has an educational workshop, mentoring, community outreach, and peer connection aspect to it as well.
Oh, I love that. So, Stacey, there's so much that we can cover, and we'll probably get you on again. But the big thing we said that we'd cover tonight is probably one of the things that you've struggled with and maybe made you join. I don't want to put words in your mouth, but made you join Miraculous Success Academy. So do you want to share what brought you to working with me and join a Miraculous Success Academy, and then we'll dive into it more?
Yeah, absolutely. So I actually have been following Rachel for a few years now, and was always kind of drawn to your readings and your information. And then I've been in business about 8 years, almost going on 9. So I got to the point where I'd hit a plateau in my business. And no matter what I did, I just couldn't get past a certain number of clients or a certain income level. So I had done some business mentoring and things like that, but I started to get a feeling that this was a mindset and subconscious belief kind of block, and I wanted some spiritual support. So when Rachel offered Miraculous Success Academy, I decided to join and jump in, and I'm so glad that I did, because a lot of the things that I had been working on and hearing for years are finally starting to click for me through your guidance and your coaching.
Yeah. I love that. And I love that you're part of it as well, because I was always drawn to your energy when we spoke. But the big thing for yourself, and I know you've said that you got to that plateau and it was just this, how you pushed that past that. But what was the big thing that you felt you really were doing in your business? Because you talk a lot about how success meant struggle. I think was one of the things that come up for you when we were looking at what does it mean to have all that success and
right. Yeah. So basically my way to tackle any difficult situation has always been to push, work harder, work faster, work longer. So I'm a push, do person. And that was no longer working for me. And I think I spent a lot of time in corporate America. I spent 17 years there, and I had a job. So it was a job. It was not a career. It was not lighting me up. But I think I learned as part of that, like, I don't enjoy this, but even growing up, I was taught, You get a job, you hate that job, you work it till you retire, and you do that to pay the bills and get the things that you want. So that's what I was used to. So when I started my own business, that's how I approached it. And I was starting to realize that it just wasn't working for me any longer. The business was kind of running me instead of me running the business.
Yeah.
And the reasons that I created my business, which was, to have freedom and to have fun and do the things that lit me up, I was doing none of that. It was kind of like a slap to the head kind of moment for me.
Yeah. I know we all start, we go into business and we want it to be fun and we do it for the freedom. And then just as you say, we bring all them old habits in that we've used everywhere else, which we are trained to do. That is part of society's way. And especially as women, well, anyone's just we create this idea that in order to receive, there has to be an action prior. And the more you receive, that means there's more actions. So we link everything to something that we do rather than, it being something, us being allowed to be and be happy as well. So, I love that you said that. And there was something else you said that really resonated with me. And I can't remember what it was now, but it'll come back to me. But there's so much in there. So what have you we've been doing a lot around letting that energy go and manifesting really how you want to be in your business versus the things that you do. So how have you found that transition, from thinking of doing equals success rather than who you're being equals success?
Yeah, so it's been a very difficult transformation for me because I am an overachiever, a type A personality. And like I said, I'm stubborn and I want to dig in and just get to the other side. So
I feel like you're talking about me.
It's so I'm sitting here and, I meditate and I do manifestation practices and all of that, but I get frustrated when things don't come to me on my timeline. So it's been hard to kind of let go of the control and just realize, that I'm right where I'm supposed to be. The universe has my back and it will bring me those things. But my biggest struggle has been learning to let go of how is this going to happen, and just kind of listen to my gut and take the inspired action when I get it. And like you said, a lot of times for me recently, it's just been rest, pause, nothing. And that is hard for me because that's just so different from anything I'm used to doing.
Yeah. And you started having these revelations, as in you wanted to take more time off. You wanted to have that freedom. You wanted to, take your foot off it, but didn't know how. And the universe come and kicked you and made you do it anyway, didn't it?
Yes, it sure did. And, and I know this, when you don't listen, the universe is going to give you the lesson and kind of force you to listen. So, beginning of September, I ended up getting COVID for the first time ever. And I had no choice but to stay in bed for a few days, put everything on pause. No work was getting done. And, it was a blessing and a curse because I felt like crap, but at the same time, it kind of got me off of that fast train that I was on, trying to put out fires and catch everything, to just being forced to rest. And once I started to rest, I started to kind of remember all of the things, all the reasons I started my business and all of the things that I liked to do, like read books that I had taken no time for, no time for self-care, no time for anything that was fun in my life. So COVID kind of forced me to remember that. And then the quieter that I was, the longer that I laid in bed, I started to get all of these things coming through, which was really, really cool in a way. I wish I would have figured that out before I got the COVID, but I just kept ignoring my gut and saying, no, later, I'm busy right now. So
you're like, this crazy redhead from the UK keeps telling me this, but takes COVID to...
Right. I'm like, I'll listen to her next week after I get this gallery edited or after I get this done. It'll be next week. And I pushed it off too long. And then the universe said, yeah, too bad. Now it's on our timeline.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think it's a culmination of everything. You joined the program, you wanted that shift, and everything has been aligning for you to have that big shift, and it's been coming. When we look at where you were at the beginning, the thought of even having a day off stressed you out. And last week we were talking about how to get back into work, and feeling like you were doing stuff, and you were like, I'm just not there. And
Right.
people watching, when you have a business, it's not about going and pushing all the time, which people think. It's, if you feel like you can't have a day off, if you feel like you can't pause and get that creative energy coming through you, then that's when your business is leading you. You're not leading it. And how do you feel now, Stacey, kind of coming out the other end of that? And because you look different, like you physically look different as well.
I don't have big dark bags under my eyes.
No, but you're absolutely glowing. Like, and I'll go back to the comments, because my comments aren't coming through. So if anybody is watching, we will go back and look over them. But you really are, Stacey, like glowing.
Thank you. Yeah. So, I mean, I kind of feel like I'm letting myself off the hook a little bit. I feel a lot lighter. I'm enjoying my business more. So I'm working more from an inspired action versus I have to do this and I have to get it done now. Like now, if I'm not feeling something, I kind of say, okay, well, I'll get back to that tomorrow when I'm feeling more like doing it. And I'm noticing that, my creativity is coming back. And then even just like, I don't have the guilt. Like when I would take a day off in the past, I would have terrible guilt. I wasn't present in the moment when I was trying to have fun, because I was trying so hard to force the fun, knowing that I had all this stuff sitting, waiting for me, and just beating myself up about, you can't take a day off. You have stuff to do, but the to-do list never ends.
Yeah.
So if you do that, you're never going to take time for yourself. And that's kind of what I'm learning.
Yeah. And the things you were busy doing in your business when we talked it through, it was all the things that was back office stuff, not necessarily generating you any more income, but it was soothing that perfectionism rather than, actually creating the expanse and the success that you wanted to bring. So it wasn't really delivering you what you needed anyway to kind of get you to where you wanted to be.
Right, for sure. I was chasing that to-do list. So like if I had a list of a bunch of things, I mean, my to-do list is insane. Like it reads like a novel, so we won't even go there. But if I would check off the easiest things first, it was like a race to see like how many things can I check off in that day, but it was all the stuff that doesn't move the needle. So I was drowning in busy work, but I was doing nothing to grow or market my business or connect with my community or anything like that. So, it felt good in some ways at the time, but if I really sat and thought about it, I was kind of hiding in that busyness and that, that back office stuff, because I had some fear about being visible and putting myself out there to try to move my business forward. Because what if I failed? What if those things didn't work? Then what? Then what do I do?
And that's something so many people struggle with, especially at any point of the business. They get the fear of being seen, and they get the fear of, what if it doesn't work, or what if people don't want to buy this? And it's a really big fear, and it can stop us, and it can create that, right, well, I've got to get all of this perfect. And then we feed that energy. And when we talk about it being energy, it is exactly what you feed and grows. So hence why your to-do list grows and grows and grows. But, just seeing the difference in you kind of thinking, right, well, is that just even letting go of, does that need to be done, from where you originally started, joining MSA to now? I think that would have given you a panic attack.
It sure would have. Right. Yeah.
So,
And some days are harder than others. But I just keep going back to, all of the things that we've talked about. And, you're constantly in my head saying, let go, let the universe, don't worry about the how, and that's really helped keep me centered and grounded.
Yeah. And it's, for anybody watching, it's not about not doing anything, I'm a bit of a stickler and let's get some action going, but your action really was kind of the opposite of most people's, whereas they're maybe not doing the stuff, you were doing too much in certain areas. So your actions really being about who do you want to be and how do you want to feel in your business. So that's quite different. And I suppose something that a lot of people don't think about, how they want their business to feel. How's that helped you?
It's just helped me stay more in the why of why I started my business in the first place. Why I want to work with teens and do the type of work that I do. It's kind of helped me reconnect with that why, which helps me to focus on the growth to-dos in my business. So I'm actually right now, and I've put it off for years, but I'm actually finally ready and at the point where I want to start looking for help and people to come in and take some of the tasks off of me that need done, but that I don't necessarily have to do, so that I can kind of focus on, I want to become the CEO of my business and not like the worker bee in my business. So
yes.
I want to focus on the marketing and revenue generating, connecting with clients, visioning and all of that stuff. And that's kind of what I've been pushing down to stay in the comfort zone of doing the busy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're finally becoming a soulpreneur, Stacey.
I'm trying hard. We're doing it.
You are. So what advice would you give to anybody who, looking at what you've done, looking at what you've tried, what you liked, what advice would you give to people who are at that point where they're really kind of struggling and overworking in their business?
Yeah. So, the main thing is I would say, always be connected to the reasons you started your business in the first place. So whatever you're doing, you've started a business because you had a calling, you wanted to be fulfilled, you had something to share with the world. So get connected into that and make that the focus of your business. And then the other thing I would say is, even if you think you don't have the income or the clientele to hire help, there are always places that you can find it. So since I've been more open to that, I've actually had some people just pop into my life in the most random ways that are available to help. So you can get an intern, you can get a high school student, you can get a family member, a niece, a nephew, you can look online at like those Fiverr websites and things like that. So you don't have to always bring in a full-time employee, but just start getting that help so that it, and once you do it once, I think it kind of frees you up to do it again. And it makes it a little bit less scary.
Yeah. And that's such a good point, because when I say don't concentrate on the how, because it comes, when we're in that energy of, I need this and I don't know how, your whole energy body just kind of shrinks into a tight restriction of, I need it, and you're coming from a space of lack. And then as soon as you focus on what it'll look like when you've got it, so allowing that freedom, allowing you to become that entrepreneur, that energy of, I'm the CEO, it can really kind of work that way. What you are then doing is it allows you to like open up the opportunities. Like you say, it literally does just fall into place without you having to hustle, without you having to grind. And it just, puts it in a different, you're not having to go and look for stuff. Suddenly the door appears, and that's the difference. You magnetize it in rather than it being something you've got to go and find.
Right. Absolutely. And it's just been really bizarre how people have kind of been put in my path sort of right when I'm open to wanting to look there.
Yeah.
Whereas before I I wanted it, but I wasn't open. I kept saying someday when things slow down. Yeah. And the other thing that I would tell people is, self-care is so important. And I know everybody hears that over and over. Self-care, take time for yourself. But I learned the hard way that it really is important. And I'm learning that if you're worn out and you're overwhelmed and you're frustrated and you're not taking care of yourself, your business suffers because you can't show up 100% for the people you're serving. So I'm trying to remember that as well, have some fun so that I can stay creative, take care of myself so that I can serve my clients fully. So, I've learned a ton. Working with you.
And that's the thing, like, you're in a creative business, like photography, super creative. And when you're feeding that energy of needing to do all this stuff, and it's all the back office stuff, your energy where you really thrive and shine isn't being fed. So, we get taught that we should do all the stuff, the budgets and the paperwork and the Excel sheets and, all the emails and the things that we kind of should do. But actually, the things that is going to drive you to be more passionate in your business is all that creativity and bringing other people on. So when you're in that highest vibration, that's when you're unstoppable.
Yeah. And I'm kind of a little bit of an oddball for a creative entrepreneur because a lot of photographers or creatives that I know don't like the business side. I happen to love both. I love the business side as much as I love photography, which is good. But sometimes when the photography end of it is a little scarier, I can find comfort just sitting in my office behind my desk doing the business side. So I have to balance both of those.
Yeah. And we've all got that little niche where it's like, actually, I can do both. I swing between that as well because I've got a real tech side and but then I've got like the other side of me that's the intuitive. And I'm like, sometimes, would it not be easier to just have a tech business? I could do all of that. But, ultimately it wouldn't feed everything I want to give. And I'd be kind of, selling myself short there. And same with you, that creative energy, even though you're constantly having to grow at that, and the other bit's probably easier, it's the growing that's actually growing out your comfort zone that is going to be where you unlock the magic.
Yeah. And I've learned throughout my photography business to just do it scared, because I've learned that the things that scare me the most are the things I end up enjoying the most and the things that move the needle the most. Like my very first photo shoot that I did for a client, that finally, like when someone was paying me, I felt like I was physically ill the night before the session. But the minute I stepped out of the car and started photographing and connecting with that client, I just loved it. And so had I not taken that chance and done it scared, I never would have been able to have the successful business. And even coming on this live today, it's my first live, everyone. So I had more than a little bit of nerves, but again, I was just like, no, if I'm afraid of it, I know I have to do it because that's where I'm going to grow.
And I think we've gone even more public than we thought, because I don't know where we're actually live at here. I think we're in the group. We might be on my page, but who knows? Well, it's all good. It'll be in the right place, exactly where it's meant to be.
Yeah.
But like as soon as I said that, you were, I don't know whether I should, but I know that's a reason to dive in. And that's something that we've been working through as a group, that when you get that fear, that is when your kind of soul is telling you that's your direction that you need to go. Because if you didn't have the fear, it wouldn't be a stretch. So I think you've really touched on that.
Yeah, it's like you always say, the ego is trying to keep you safe. So if I'm afraid of it, it's definitely a sign to me that like, you need to push through this. You don't know what's going to come out of it. So, and I've really enjoyed this today. So I'm so glad I allowed you to push me a little bit.
Well, we're going to have you back on because there's so much that you're covering, Stacey, that I think you know, it helps. Obviously, I talk about what I do in the programs, but you know, it's energy work. It's different for everybody. I don't, you know, people say, what do you teach in an essence? But you've got a photography business. You know, Suzanne's got a jewelry business. Wendy's, you know, got her trips to France and a B&B and all of that. You know, and Kim's got her products business, and it's all very different. But at the end of the day, like, the energy work is the transformation where you make the biggest shift. So I can't say to people, you know, I do X, Y, Z, when it's so different for everybody, but it's all about really connecting to you and bringing out that power inside of you to step into that entrepreneur, like you said.
Yeah, and like you have said before, and you truly are, you're really good at honing in where every individual one of us are struggling, and getting us to have those realizations, get through those blocks, and, you know, not allowing us to kind of hide from it, which is huge. And, you know, aside even from your coaching, working with the other women in the group on our group calls, like, we feed off each other's energy. We've all learned from one another. And it's just been an amazing experience. It really has.
And that's the biggest thing. You know, I've always been drawn to doing group coaching. And that's why, because I have a certain perspective of the world, but putting 5 women together, 10 women together, you have a totally different view, and you're allowed, you know, you've got that energy to bounce off each other. And I think that's the more magical parts of the group as well, which I think, you know, someone else sharing, we can all relate. It's all similar things that we go through. So obviously you're in Miraculous Success Academy, so that's the mastermind, and that won't be open again till January for people. But we do have the Soulpreneur Academy open at the minute, which is going to be an 8-week program, and all the girls from Miraculous Success Academy are in that as part of their package. But what would you say for anyone who wants to think about joining that?
I would actually say, you know, if you're being called to do it, because even with Miraculous Success Academy, I kind of went back and forth, but it kept popping back up in my mind. I would say if you're being called to do it, dive in. I know from working with Rachel that she has a wealth of information to share. She's really good at coaching you along your unique path. So, you know, I would say just give it a shot and dive in, and you know, you won't be disappointed.
And let's see who joins us in there. It's exciting.
And I'll be in there learning alongside everyone, because I certainly have a lot more to learn. Always.
Yeah, but we're going to be diving in that. So Miraculous Success Academy has been a wide range. It's very, very business led anyway, but Soulpreneur Academy is going to be the 8 weeks really focused on you becoming that CEO of your business, like you said, but energetically rising into that energy. So it's going to be exciting. I can't wait.
Yeah, I can't wait to get in there and get started for sure.
I know. Kim's just tried to join this call as well, so God love her. She's wanting to come live too now. But she's
Bring her on.
got the different link. So we're going to be diving on to our Miraculous Success Academy call now. So thank you to everybody who's watching. Hopefully it has been in the right group, but if not, I will share it in there. So sorry about that. But just everybody give Stacey some love. They're like, this is her first interview live on Facebook, and she's absolutely killed it. And for anybody, we'll put this on the podcast tomorrow as well, Stacey. So
yeah, awesome. Well, thanks for having me on. It's been super fun, and I've really enjoyed talking as usual.
Oh, it's amazing. You've got so much to share, but I just think, like, really take some time to just see how far you've come, like, to let go of all that energy and angst that you had at the beginning to now. It is a big, big, big shift.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. Well, I'll see you on the other call, and thank you everybody for watching, and I'll go back and look at the comments and see what people have been saying.
All right.
Okay.
Bye,
Thanks. Bye. Bye, Steph. So as you heard, Stacey is absolutely incredible. And I know she is stepping into that entrepreneur in her business, but what a shift that has been over the last few months. And what I would say, she come into MSA and she was feeling stressed. She was feeling like she needed to do something to up level. And she's done it and literally took the bull by the horns and been open to using that energy and being asked to take a step back, which is probably not what she didn't realize would happen. So I just say to you, please take this advice from Stacey. You know, you can change the things in your business. You can feel that shift. You can feel that confidence. You can up level, and you're in charge of all of that. So we're going to continue working together, and I'm going to get her back on the podcast at a later date to give you an even bigger update of where she is. But for anybody who's wanting to join Soulpreneur Academy, you can come and work with me and Stacey. You can come and up level, and you can come and step into that soulpreneur that you were actually born to be. So please, if you fancy being part of that program, make sure you join before the 3rd of October, because we're going to be getting kicked off next week. So here's to an amazing life. Here's to being more Stacey and stepping into that amazing energy. And let us know if you enjoyed this podcast. This was her first ever live, so let's give her a bit of love and a bit of support, because she absolutely smashed it. Love you all. Bye.